Yo! Whoa, hey! Test 1, 2. Test. Looks good. Okay, mini stream. Turns out on Halloween, they just randomly patched the game again. Apparently there was a second half to this patch that they didn't put out, which explains why there was basically no freezing or rushing Pokemon in the last update. Especially considering I just heard nothing but people complaining about Lapras not getting buffed, which I hate because Lapras is just so annoying to fight with the ult. The ult is so crazy. People sleep on Lapras' ult, man. It's crazy. Clearly it got buffed, so hopefully it's not too bad. I did check this out when it dropped because I didn't expect it to be any good, and I've already forgotten most of the changes, except that I got like 3 Pokemon that got buffed. Let's fucking go. And that the changes are not trash like they were last time. The last patch was terrible. It was so bad. I don't know why they decided to make this part the second part, because clearly this is the most of the Pokemon who were supposed to be buffed, and they left this for a second one. So that's wild. Yeah, it's before breakfast, but I wanted to do this real quick before I went and eat breakfast. And so I wanted to see this. Apparently they are still basing it on like win rates on Unite API, which is not great. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So a lot of defense buffs lately. It's just a decision that they've made to try and change Pokemon. Like the few patches before this, they were doing a lot of damage changes. So apparently they've now shifted to just increasing the defense of a bunch of stuff. So that's wild. But whatever. Defense buffs on Lapras, that makes sense. They're supposed to be super tanky. They nerfed the passive at some point, so I guess this compensates for that pretty well. Because before it was like impossible to actually burst down Lapras, so now it'll be a lot more like other defenders, but with some burst protection. That's fine. Basic attack, healing, of all the effects it has, that's the one I'm fine with it buffing. Bubble Beam, shield amount, okay good, it's not anything else. Parasong, damage increase. Yeah, that's fair. If anything had to get a damage increase, I'm glad it was this. Thank goodness it wasn't the ult. Thank goodness it wasn't Ice Beam. And definitely thank goodness it wasn't Water Pulse. That would have been a disaster. Because the Parasong really, it just does damage. It really doesn't do anything else. So that's a fair buff. I don't really like defenders doing damage, but like Parasong really doesn't do anything else, which is also kind of a problem. A defender shouldn't have a move that just does damage, but whatever. Look at Rapid Spin Blastoise. Ugh. Blissey, we got Blissey buffs. That's so rare. All the supports are doing so well. If not in ranked and competitive. Safeguard shield amount increase. What I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. The Safeguard shield was worthless. Thank you. Now it actually survives the hit. Now it's actually worth it. I've seen like a couple of Blissies, and Safeguard actually does what it's supposed to now. You take like a hit or two with no stun. It's fantastic. Especially in the stun meta right now. They buffed Ninetales and they buffed Pikachu. Now there's stun everywhere. And Mammo. Technically they nerfed it. I don't believe it. I can't feel any nerfs whatsoever. Helping Hand, cooldown to 8 seconds, effect duration to 4 seconds. So basically just reverting the Mewtwo Y nerf. That's basically just what they did. That's fair. That's fair. Nerfing Blissey because Mewtwo Y was broken, that was not the play. That was not the play. You forgot Blissey existed? Most people did. There was no reason to pick it over Clefable or Eldegoss even. Hoopa. Like, there was no reason to pick Blissey. Ever. You could. It was fine. You could win with it. But it was worse in just about every way. The healing was still good, but you could not play Safeguard or you're throwing. Greedent nerf. Greedent. Oh no, Greedent buff. Interesting. So that's why I've been seeing Greedents lately. Belch movement speed decrease. Now it's a slow, and it lasts longer, and now it decays over time. Okay, so now it's like a normal defender move. Now it's like Blastoise Hydro Pump, where it does a ton of damage, but now it slows as well. I'm surprised it doesn't shove, but that would actually make the move worse. So, reasonable. And a damage increase. That's nice. Belch, Greedent really just didn't have any value on a team. Like, it was so bad I couldn't even really play it anymore. It just had no value. You couldn't kill anyone, you couldn't farm, you couldn't score. You couldn't escape with Covet, like, you couldn't do anything. Bullet Seed's cooldown has gone down half a second. That doesn't fix the problem that you get stunned out of it instantly, but alright. Yo, Caleb. You wish Blishby got buffed? Even more. Ah, that makes sense. All the supports are doing well. I don't think they really need too many buffs. It's too dangerous to make them really good. Especially when there's always, like, the Armarouge and Cerulege running around doing way too much. And there's always, you know, like, Zacian running around doing too much, and defenders running around impossible to kill. It's like, supporters are a very dangerous thing to buff. Just look at how people feel about Comfey. It has, like, the least impact of all of them, and people hate it the most. And Berry Belly Flop, you get a little bit faster. That's nice. It was really difficult to actually get the ult when you needed it. So that's actually a really nice change. I like that. Yeah, they're increasing Green's battle capabilities because it wasn't very good in battle. Actually, it was worthless in battle. Azumarill, this is an interesting one. But Azumarill has been kind of falling short of everything lately. Even when you ult somebody, it really didn't kill them anymore. Too many dashes in the meta right now. So we're getting some special defense only. Reasonable. Slick Spoon is still broken. Please nerf. Whirlpool, 9-second cooldown. Very reasonable. I don't know if it was really a 10 cooldown move to begin with. It's just a heal. And damage. It's good damage and a heal. But I would still probably call that an 8-second cooldown on this meta, but we'll see. Unite move, Belly Bash. Shield amount from 5% of max HP to 6.5%. Very reasonable. Very reasonable. These are very reasonable changes. Glaceon. Are we getting nerfed again? Defense up. Special defense up for late game. Why? EVs are early game. Why buff late game? They're supposed to be bad. What? They're so good early game. What? Why? Icicle Spear damage, let's go! So that's why it felt so good. I could actually kill things again. Let's go! Everybody's gonna hate me again. Fantastic. And a freeze dry increase. I don't feel like damage is the point of that move, but I prefer it over Icy Wind getting buffed. So I'll take it. I do not want Icy Wind buffed. Just straight up. Just do not want it. This is literally just all they're mentioning. It's just win rate was bad. Win rate was bad. Win rate was bad. Pick rate was bad. Died against special attackers, which is the entire meta right now, as always. Nerf Slick Spoon. Espeon. Ooh, are we getting the same? Let's go. We're getting the same buffs on Espeon. That's not going to be broken at all. Psyshock got a damage increase. I question if it needed it. I question it. But it's still better than Stored Power getting buffed. Future Sight. Yeah, that makes sense. It already has such a low cooldown. I can't imagine what else you would really buff on Future Sight to make it worth picking. So, yeah, this works. Apparently they wanted to buff this moveset specifically. Interesting. Gardevoir? Oh god, no. Dear god, no. It's already so hard to catch. Not the Guardy defense buffs. Not like this. So Psychic. Special defense reduction up. Why? It already has so much defense reduction. You basically don't even have special defense against Guardy as it is. They can lower it by like 50%. Why? Madness. And damage. I guess when you compare it to Moonblast, it didn't do that much damage. Maybe because it shouldn't. Psyshock damage increase. That doesn't look too bad. Future Sight, 5% increase. Once again, doesn't seem too bad. Johnny's busted. Not like this. The defense buff is really what I don't like here. I don't like that. Gardevoir is so impossible to catch as it is. The passive slowing you if you slow them is awful. I will take this though. They didn't buff Moonblast. Thank God. It's something positive, not much, but it's something. Mewtwo-Y. I mean, that's a similar problem. The basic attack speed's up a little bit. I very much appreciate that. It really kind of needs it. Mewtwo-Y attacks so slow now. Future Sight. Movement speed reduction up to 35%. And cooldown off a second and a half. Nice. I'm fine with that. It was a get off me tool that you could basically never use, so that's pretty neat. Now you might actually be able to use it for damage and not just get murdered. Recover is worthless. Cooldown 1 second off of it. Still worthless. Healing amount 20% damage dealt to 30% damage dealt. That's nice. It's still definitely not worth 2 teleports. Teleport got a cooldown reduction. We got a second off teleport. Let's fucking go. Fuck recover. We're not using that shit. Fuck that. No one's picking that shit. We got a second off the teleport cooldown. Let's go. I would have liked a little more basic attack speed at the cost of damage, but that's just me. I like hyper attack speed. That's just me. Thank goodness they didn't give this one the defense buffs. That would have been a disaster. I'm happy with this. Oh yeah, they specifically didn't want to give it defense, so they're just like, you can teleport more and you heal more. That makes sense. I'm happy about that. Very reasonable. Zacian, are we finally getting the Zacian nerf after... How long has it been since it's needed a nerf? A year and a half? Maybe longer? Sacred Sword, the defense piercing halved. Very big nerf. The attack increase down 10%, big nerf. Movement speed reduction to 20%. What? Oh, the slow. I always forget that it even has a slow because it goes off so fast. I always forget it even has one. And it's very much a move where if they don't have a eject button, you can kind of see it coming a mile away. And I play a lot of mobile characters. What the dog do? And higher mentioned Sacred Sword has significantly increased stations when... Well, no one's using Metal Claw. No duh. Metal Claw is terrible. It's just a little slap on the wrist of Sacred Sword. Nothing to agility, which is one of the things that needs the nerf the most. But whatever, I guess. Play rough also would be nice to not be like 3 stuns, but whatever. I guess that's just how they want play rough to work. Where's the Mimikyu nerf? We need it. Miraidon. Charge beam, 10% decrease. Really? I always thought the problem with charge beam, personally, was that the boosted beam didn't really do enough damage to justify, like, locking you out of so many options defensively and aggressively. For, you know, like this, the normal charge beam's damage. I would have thought that they would reorganize that damage, not just nerf it entirely, but alright. This is specifically that the boosted charge beam's damage has been nerfed, and the normal ones are allowed to stay. So I feel like the boosted is just straight up a detriment now. Twisted had a stroke. Yeah, all Twisted's EXs are getting nerfed, and mine are getting buffed, baby. Let's go. Electro Drift, boosted 8% decrease. I feel like everything on Electro Drift needed a damage decrease. Why just the boosted? The boosted also goes way too far. It's madness. Parabolic Charge, cooldown 1 second up. Very reasonable. Very reasonable. You could absolutely spam that so hard. That's very reasonable. Every second that you don't have an Electro Drift is like a huge nerf on Miraidon, so that's a very reasonable nerf. Because you are just like a sitting duck when you don't have an Electro Drift, and if you're just sitting in the back not helping, right, like that's... Especially if you use the boosted Electro Drift to get out, it's going to be a million years before you can get back to the fight, so... And then you have to get in with a Parabolic Charge, that's rough, so... This could be a nerf that really balances Miraidon. I can see this really balancing. Ho-Oh's getting hit with the nerfs. Flame Vortex, damage decrease. So basically Fire Spin. Damage decrease. I don't know why it really needed to do damage to begin with. Is this like the explosion damage or just all of its damage? If it's all of its damage, then it's basically just the boosted damage, because that's the only part that did damage. Shield amount 50% decrease. That's rough. I feel like that was kind of part of it. But also I would agree that it does give you a lot of shield. I have survived many a greedy encounter by just popping Fire Spin right as I was about to die. Very reasonable, very reasonable. Cooldown up half a second. Shame. But also reasonable for something that shields your team. That's reasonable. Sky Attack, cooldown up half a second. I mean, you could really spam it. That's fair. Like catching Ho-Oh was a Herculean task. That was not easy. Unite move, rekindling flame. Energy cost 20% increase, totally reasonable. Totally reasonable. No one's ever gonna use it outside of literally just objectives. That's the only time anyone's ever gonna use it. Being able to use it more than that is actively a detriment. I 100% am behind that nerf. Protective capabilities of Fire Spin and its allies was too strong. It's reasonable. Players have gotten better at not sucking with Ho-Oh. So now it's fine. That's good, because it really didn't need a buff. I'm pretty sure they buffed its Unite move earlier, and I don't know why. Reasonable. The Pikachu, no! It was fun while it lasted. My boy! I don't see Volt Tackle on here. What's happening? Electric Ball damage, 5% decrease. Reasonable, its Execute is insane. The Execute on Electro Ball is insane. Cooldown up half a second. Damn. Rough. Fair. Thunder damage decrease. Now where did this come from? Hey yo! Thunder still wasn't even that good. Thunder wasn't even that good, man. What the heck? Well, fuck it. I guess it's just Electro Ball now. Fuck, I get to even have less fun than before. Just ate pizza and 3 Reese's Cups. Living the life. Unite move Thunderstorm. Damage 8% decrease. Reasonable. That's reasonable. No Volt Tackle change, huh? Alright. I would have liked a Thundershock buff. Or a Thunderbolt buff. They're just saying. I would have liked Thunderbolt to not be impossible to hit, like, dashes with. That would have been nice. But whatever, I guess. Me personally, I don't know. They said the CC was fine, but not the damage. It's the devs of Pokemon Unite. Of course they thought the CC was fine. Did you see the first half of this Freezing Rush patch? It was all CC buffs. That's all it was. It sucked. This one at least nerfed a lot of the characters that needed it. And buffed some of the ones that might not have. Then again, who am I to complain? Who am I to complain? Yo, not the Thunder nerf, dude. Now Electro Ball's the only good move. That sucks. That's rough. Due to its ease of use, no kidding. Highest pick rate. Address its near mandatory selection or ban status. Not that you could even fucking get draft anymore. Thunder did nothing wrong. I agree. Wait, which Thunder? Ceruledge, finally! Final fucking lead. This patch is great. We finally got Ceruledge nerfs, thank God. Bitterblade damage down almost 50%, thank God. Or no, almost 33%, I think. I can't remember. I can't tell. This is worded strange. Healing effect, 10% decrease. Good. Cooldown, 6 seconds. Or, cooldown, up half a second. Reasonable. I would very much have liked, the Shadow Sneak to get a cooldown increase, because that is spammed. Phantom Force, that's it. Bitterblade plus healing effect, 15% decrease. Sure. Psycho Cut. Pretty strong. Pretty strong. Defense reduction 47 to 40%. Very nice. At least I think that's how to read this, because I don't think it used to be an 87% reduction. So I assume this lost 9%, this lost 7%. Very reasonable. Or it's saying that at level 5 it was 10% and level 15 is 19% now? That doesn't make sense though. I don't know. It's worded strangely. It's worded strangely. Cycle Cut plus 33% to 29% decrease. Still worded very strange. I'm not entirely sure how to read this. Justice for Thunder. But I do know it's a damage reduction. I do know that much. I don't have long. I gotta go. Alright. What else we got here? Oh, and Armarouge down there. Beautiful. Phantom Force. Damage 15% decrease. Thank you. Cooldown 1 second up. Thank you. Thank you. Phantom Force is insane. And you literally cannot dodge Bitterblade. It's terrible. There's no dodging it. It's fucking huge. Thank goodness. Key moves. Key moves, especially those affecting early game performance. Everything except the ult and the alternate dash, which I can't even remember what it is because everybody picks Phantom Force, no exceptions. No exceptions. I don't even know what the other move is because I've never seen a Ceruledge play it. Armarouge, thank goodness. Another Armarouge nerf, although the last one was basically just a rework. Another Fire Spin. I don't know why it's called Flame Vortex, but it's still Fire Spin. Damage, 20% decrease. Very reasonable. You really just kind of get shredded in there. It's insane. Shield amount, 25% decrease. Ah, so that's why they reworked it. They couldn't tell how much the defenses were giving. So they wanted it to be shield so they can tell how much they needed to nerf it. Once again, no CC change, it'd be that way. Yeah, the ult is still pretty stupid, but at least the rest of the character isn't stupid. There's a lot of all-rounders where the ult is their most broken move, so this kind of just fits in line with that, like Charizard. Machamp. Oh. Oh, man. The buffs were basically nerfs. The Machamp usage has fallen off so hard. He's like, oh boy, they buffed us. No, they didn't. No, they did not. That was a nerf. Oh, dude, that's rough. Anyway. Psyshock. Yep, they saw everybody was just playing Fire Spin Psyshock now. A special defense piercing, 50% down to 35%. Big nerf, 15%. Very reasonable. There's too much defense piercing in the game. That's why defenders don't feel like defenders. They feel like all-rounders. Well, that's part of the reason. Also, how much freaking damage they do. Armor Cannon. Damage 10% decrease. Rough, but fair. Cooldown 6 seconds to 7 seconds. Fair. If you mess up your cast, you're going to get more punished. That's good. Despite adjustments in the previous Freezing Rust patch, even though, you know, this is a fire type, not an ice type. Despite adjustments. I'm pretty sure those adjustments were just so you could tell how much you needed to nerf it at this point. Did not decrease as expected. No shit. You buffed Fire Spin. That was the good move. Of course the win rate didn't decrease. Now Fire Spin did all of it. It did all of the buffs. You only needed Fire Spin. Psyshock was just a bonus. And Armor Cannon was just nerfed just because. The devs not playing their game, very true. I think Machamp is actually the victim of the very first rework that actively made a character worse. I think that's the first time they've ever reworked a move and actively made it worse. Mega Mewtwo X. Surely this one's not getting a buff. This one's still good. Psystrike, damage reduction effect. It got a nerf! Mewtwo White, good tonight, boys. Let's go. Mewtwo X got Psystrike nerfed because the damage reduction was too strong, which is true. That is fair. That is very fair. Maybe someone will actually pick Future Sight again. It's a miracle. They might actually pick Future Sight. That's crazy. Psystrike's damage reduction was overly strong. That's it. That's the whole explanation. This one got like a whole paragraph. Most of these have gotten full sentences, usually starting with the win rate. Mewtwo, we don't need a reason. We don't need a reason. Just nerf it. We just think it was too good. We just didn't like it. Mewtwo X get wrecked. That's a shame. That's rough. In Charizard's ult got a rework. I would call it just a buff. They just gave it a new effect. That's not really a rework. Like Armarouge's Fire Spin, that's a rework. They changed its mechanics and gave it new effects and got rid of old effects. Charizard's ult, all they did was just give it bound. That's all they did. That's just a buff. Mewtwo could eat our ass. Specifically the X one, though. Y gets to eat the player's ass. Get fucked. Alright. And bug fix. Blastoise defense and special defense at 7 to 8 were lower than intended. I would have been fine with that. Leave that in. I still think they should be Wartortle at level 7 and 8. Put that back in too. So that's this Freezing Rush second half. The Freezing Rush second half of the patch, even though it feels like this should have been the first half. Winner and loser is a good question. I would probably say that the strongest loser would definitely be Armarouge. That is a pretty rough nerf. It might be Ceruledge though. They're basically a pair anyway. They're basically the same Pokemon. I think though that that was a huge nerf on Armarouge personally. Phantom Force got a pretty big nerf, and Bitterblade and Psycho Cut, they took some hits, but this is a huge nerf, along with this being a pretty big nerf too. Like, both of Armarouge's good moves got nerfed. Ceruledge, they just got Phantom Force nerfed, the other one didn't even get hit. Right? Alright, so I think Armarouge definitely lost the hardest. Winner? That is a good question. There was a lot of buffs. I would say probably the one that got the most needed changes. That's true. I was gonna say Lapras, but it's also distinctly possible that it's probably Glaceon getting Icicle Spear buffed again, when it definitely did not need that, and defense up. Like, Espeon, Psyshock isn't really their main move. They pretty smoothly switch between all four of their moves. Glaceon, Icicle Spear is definitely their better move. Without question, and it just got a buff. And a defense buff. I'd say probably Glaceon. Honorable mention to Lapras getting buffs that aren't broken. So it might actually, like, be balanced. Guard getting buffs for no reason? Yeah, but Gardevoir, like, their bread and butter is Moonblast. Psychic getting a buff isn't that big of a deal. They were already impossible to catch, so the defenses aren't really that big of a deal. And, like, its good move, like being Psyshock or Future Sight, you're right, like, they got 5% increases. It's not that big. It's not that big, really. Psychic's really the main buff here, and who cares? Moonblast is a stun. Nobody's gonna pick Psychic because it has more defense reduction. Psychic isn't even the damage move, right? Like, the damage increase here isn't even that big of a deal. Gardevoir's bread and butter is Future Sight, Moonblast, Future Sight again, and then probably Future Sight him again, because there's a defender just walking towards them like an idiot. That's where all of Gardevoir's damage comes from. All of Glaceon's damage comes from Icicle Spear. That's where it all comes from. And an 8% increase on Icicle Spear's damage is an 8% increase on every single hit. That's like over 10 hits that all have a damage of 8% increase. That's a lot. So I would probably argue that Glaceon definitely ate the best here. Honorable mention to Lapras, who got a lot of buffs on things that I don't think are broken. And thankfully, this will probably shut up all of the whiners that wanted Lapras buffed. It'll shut them up without giving them buffs that are too broken. Thank goodness. I wish they could have done that with Blastoise. Yeah, I'm gonna go have breakfast now. I hope you guys enjoyed. Good stream. Good talking to you, Mup. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Bye! I'm sure I'll never regret this. Based on what I said last night, that was a lie. Oh no. The Evolutions incident. Oh god, no. Run away. I forgot to mark this as a React stream. There we go.